Let's say you wanted to securely send a message to your friend. What app would you use? Perhaps text message, maybe WhatsApp, or just DM them on Instagram. But only one of these is securely encrypted. WhatsApp, as well as other apps such as Signal, use secure end-to-end encryption to ensure that your messages cannot be read by a third party. WhatsApp's algorithm is so secure that not even WhatsApp itself can read the messages that pass through their servers, because the encryption takes place on an individual's device. But what is end-to-end encryption? And how does it keep your messages private? Without encryption, Alice's message to Bob can be intercepted and read by Eve. Who Eve is does not matter. They could be the government, or they could be a hacker trying to gain malicious information. Thus, unencrypted messaging servers such as text message or Instagram DMs should not really be used for anything that you want to keep private, because it could be leaked. When encrypted, if Alice's message is intercepted, it cannot be read because the encryption algorithm turned the plain text message into ciphertext. This ciphertext is scrambled, seemingly random characters. The ciphertext is then decrypted when it reaches Bob in order for him to understand her message. Because the algorithm uses extremely large prime numbers with only 4 prime factors, it is nearly impossible to decrypt with current technology. End-to-end encryption uses private and public keys to encrypt and decrypt your message. But what are public and private keys? They're generated when you create an account on WhatsApp and are unique to your account or device. Your public key is known to all devices, however, while the public key is known only by the corresponding device. When the plain text message is put into the encryption algorithm alongside the public key, the ciphertext is returned. It is impossible to retrieve the plain text given just a public key and the ciphertext, thus the message is secure. The private key is the inverse operator to the public key, and thus when the ciphertext and private key are put into the decryption algorithm, the plain text is returned. Thus, because only the recipient knows the recipient's device knows their private key, only the recipient can decrypt the message and reveal the meaning. So let's say Alice wants to send a message to Bob. Alice's device would take her plain text message alongside Bob's public key and put them into the encryption algorithm. The ciphertext message would then be transmitted to Bob's device. If ciphertext message is intercepted by Eve, they won't be able to understand it because it's encrypted. When Bob receives this message, his device puts the ciphertext and private key into the decryption algorithm, which would output Alice's plain text message. This is because his private key is the inverse operator as his public key. If Bob were to send a message to Alice, Bob would use Alice's private key. Bob would use Alice's public key when sending a message, and then Alice would use her private key to decrypt, because only Alice knows her private key. To conclude, end-to-end encryption is secure because the message is not sent as plain text. Thus, it cannot be read without the private key or being decrypted. The private key cannot be calculated easily, and thus only the recipient can decrypt the message. Lastly, because the private key is not stored as plain text on the server, but is on the device, the message cannot be read by WhatsApp themselves, but only by the recipient. Due to the security of end-to-end encryption and the speed at which it can be used, it is the superior method to encrypt direct messages such as text or photos and videos without taking a long time. Badly drawn. Bad drawings, clear explanations.